So, continuing into today's webinar, I would like you to like how the transition works. That'd be great. So, today, together with my colleague Rosa, if you've got any questions, feel free to pitch them in the Q&A. We want to discuss 4 points with you today: Copilot Chat, Microsoft 365 Copilot, Copilot for Business, Agentic AI. So let's kick off, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask, and we'll try to answer them promptly. As you might well know, everything in AI is built out of large language models, LLMs, and these large language models are trained by scraping the internet and by giving us context and teaching the models how to respond. So if you look at what an LLM actually is, it's a trained model based on enormous amounts of data. And what it does is actually it's learning context, and that context helps it to answer the questions or the tasks that we give it. So in order for that to work, there's a huge amount of data required to train it, to make it even work better and better. That's an ongoing process. I would like to compare such a thing like learning how to drive a car, for instance. You've got your driver's license, and then you start driving, you start experiencing the real deal. Well, how does that work with LLMs? LLMs are based on neural networks, layered nodes, which is basically a lot of big data. And that data is used to train the module, train the models, but also learn it more in-depth training. So you train the model on what is allowed and what is not allowed, what is good and what is wrong. If you look at all the GPTs that we have, you can see that there's a difference in the knowledge. So we're looking at the older models like BERT or Beta and Alberta, but also like Llama by Meta. They have trained their models on specific data sets. And if you look at GPT, it started out with GPT-1 and it used 170 million parameters, which is quite a lot actually. But that's on a level of a primary school student. If you look at GPT-4, you can see that it has transitioned into 176 trillion parameters, which is a big deal more. And now with the latest release of GPT-5 and 5.2 recently, you can see that these models have expanded even more and gained more knowledge. So if you look at ChatGPT, what is it? It's a chatbot. It's a framework we can use in which we can ask it to do stuff. We can upload information, and it will respond accordingly. If you look at what that does for your business, it doesn't do a lot immediately. But if you look at ChatGPT, it's the most used tool in AI in the world. It took only 4 months after starting up in November 22 to get to 100 million users in just 4 months. To compare that, YouTube did 4 years on the same amount of users. So that's a lot of users on that platform. That also helps that platform train their model. So from ChatGPT 3.5, one of the first versions that was launched, we've now ended up in 5 and 5.2. If we translate that to how Microsoft is leveraging ChatGPT from OpenAI, which it is shareholder of, we can see that within Microsoft Graph, which is actually the environment where all your data resides, everything that is known to you, so your apps, your Teams chats, your files, and so on, that is used to enrich the Copilot experience so it can help you properly. Well, there's a difference between Graph and between OpenAI. OpenAI is a literal chatbot which is activated on the internet and has no intricate knowledge of your data. Copilot, on the other hand, has access through the Microsoft Graph to your tenant and is able to assist you with intricate knowledge of your data. If we look at semantic index, it's all based on how the environment in Microsoft is built. So what we have is a semantic index, which means that every Copilot which you will activate or install on your tenant has a time frame of about 72 hours to index all the information there is in your tenant. In that time, it actually ranks and notifies how it all works, and it looks at every bit of data that's in there. Depending on your access and your security, it might or might not have access to certain specific files, which you might have excluded from the vision of the Copilot, which you can do in Microsoft 365 Admin Center. If we look at Copilot Chat, then there's a big thing to learn and to do there. The ambition of Microsoft is every user will have a Copilot and every business process will have their own agent. What that actually means is that you will have a personal assistant when you use a Copilot, which assists you in your day-to-day tasks. And then you can use an agent to build all your business processes or to automate all your business processes with. So if you would think about automating business processes, you can think about a ordering process or a service agent or a retrieval agent from a specific data source. So you can use them in multiple ways. So why Copilot Chat? Well, Copilot Chat is the UI for AI. So it actually means that it's your user interface. It's the visual way you use Copilot to talk with all the Copilot and agents that are surfacing behind there. So if you look at Copilot on its own, it's a very neat tool to communicate with every piece of agent and every piece of AI within your company or organization. Copilot is built for making it easier for you to talk to such LLMs, and you don't have to know code. So you don't have to speak Python or C# or any other program code. You can just simply ask a question in your own language, and it will reply to you in the same manner. So why Copilot Chat? Well, one, you already have it. So if you have anything related to Microsoft 365, you can simply activate Copilot Chat. It's a free tool. You can use it for free. You don't have to pay for that. You can activate it so it's embedded in your Teams. And so that's a neat thing to do. And it's still safer than any other tool, especially for work-related questions, queries. It has an enterprise security, which means that on every aspect of tooling that Microsoft has regarding Copilot, which it is, whether it is within Copilot Chat or Copilot for 365, or it's Copilot Studio or Copilots and agents in OpenAI, it all has the enterprise-grade security on it. What does that actually mean? Well, that means that your security makes sure that your data is still your data. So Copilot Chat will not transport your data outside of your tenant, which means that all data you have will remain or reside within your tenant, even when you're using Copilot. And lastly, not importantly, especially for my Dutch friends, it's free. Yes, that's always a good thing, right? And it's free. So one of the most important things about this is if you are struggling to decide whether you're using OpenAI or another tool like Mistral or Anthropic with Claude, you can also choose to say, you know what, let's use Copilot Chat in the company as a standard. Use it for work-related items. That's where it works at its best. And it's for free. So you can actually have a lot of users going at it without you having the cost. So that's one of the reasons why to use Copilot Chat. Another reason is you can access Copilot Chat really easy. You can get there by visiting m365copilot.com, but you can also, when you're in one of the apps, simply go to the chat or go to the Copilot button, which is visually this logo, and you can click it and it will activate within the application. Not very important to know. It's very convenient to use, actually. If we look at why you would do this, then we look at the way we work. And we used to work with a lot of own intellect, which I think is a great thing, especially if you're a specialist. But there's a new model of working. And AI isn't just a tool, it's also a solution, or it might be a solution, if you use it in the right way. So what we now are faced with is that a lot of our youngsters who are growing up are using AI for everything they do. Then they ask them the most ridiculous questions sometimes as well, but we need to teach them how to use the tools properly. But basically what's most important is that it's a new model of working. And how does AI become part of your organization? And that's important to ask yourself that question. Do you have any sense of what AI could do for you? If not, please look into that or ask for help. We're happy to talk to you about that. One thing that is sure is that AI won't go away. It's not a hype. It's not going to go. It's going to stay. And Bill Gates called it the biggest revolution since the computerization of everything. What do they mean by that? Well, if we look at the history of AI, it has been there for a long time. So the first paper about a self-reasoning computer dates back to 1936, which is a long time ago. And from that point on, people have been actively looking at how to get a computer which is able to reason by itself. And are we there all the way? Not yet, but we're getting there pretty good. And I think that's something to think about, especially if you're in your organization and you're running a IT organization, you're supporting your customers. Think about what is my AI strategy, but also how can I leverage that strategy to my customers and how can I help them get a AI strategy? If we look at the usage of AI tools in general, 70%, 75% of all employees are using AI tools at work. We do not know which tools because we don't know how to look for them. We don't know how to see them. But also, can you ensure the fact that your employees are doing the right thing? Are they not uploading business sensitive data into a open AI tool, for instance, ChatGPT or Mistral, to have it checked out or to get calculations or an answer on it? And how can we ensure to make sure that employees are not doing the wrong things? Well, if we look at the knowledge workers, so that's the people who are, well, SMEs, so subject matter experts. If we look at those, 78% of them bring their own tool to work. So you get a sort of a term like, instead of bring your own device, it's bring your own AI, which is fine if there is a general approach to that as a company. If you've decided together that it's a good thing for someone to bring their own tool, and you've said, it falls within the compliance and governance of a company, that's fine. If it's not, address the situation, explain to your colleagues and employees, hey, listen, I love the fact that you're using AI. I stimulate the fact that you're using AI, but I would prefer the fact that you use a different tool because of the safety of company data. Well, if you look at the top 500 CEOs that were interviewed about this, 80% of them is afraid of oversharing. And they have cited that as a concern. What does that mean? Well, it means that 80% of all companies fears the fact that AI might actually overshare data which they would classify as sensitive. So in 80% of the cases, that is a risk. How can we make sure that that doesn't happen? Well, for starters, it starts with you. You are the IT resellers. You know what the risks are. You know how to prevent those risks, but also you can teach your customers how to use it properly. That is not just for AI. That's also for how you can do governance and data security, how you can manage sensitivity labeling, how you can use Purview for that, how you can use data loss prevention, how you can execute a good entry posture so every employee has the correct rights in the system and the correct use of tools. But also, if you look at the identification of risk AI use, 41% of those same leaders are afraid that it's not done in the right way. So if you were to use your customer data from your CRM or ERP systems, and you would upload that to OpenAI, you don't know where your data might end up with. So that is quite a big risk to take. And furthermore, AI governance and risk visibility. 84% feels that it's a problem that they have no idea what's going on within their organization if it's about AI tooling. So to tackle that, we've actually enabled Copilot Chat to work within our data, but still not share it outside of the tenant, which is a good thing. Furthermore, if you look at all those Copilot things, you've got several flavors to go with. So Microsoft has made some sort of a gimmick of naming applications and tools, but they named every single one of them Copilot or Agent, which is quite frustrating at some points because Copilot isn't just a Copilot. You've got a Copilot for M365, and even within M365, it's not a single Copilot. You've got a Copilot for Word, you've got a Copilot for Excel, you've got a Copilot for Outlook, you've got a Copilot for Teams. Yes, we addressed them as Copilot for M365, but it's different Copilots within those tools. Then you've got Copilot for Sales, for instance. You've got Copilot for Sales, Copilot for Service, specifically designed to assist you with your CRM or ERP systems. Then you've got Copilot Studio. Studio is a platform. We will address that later on in this webinar. The Copilot Studio enables you to connect third-party applications as well as automating processes within your company. And you've got Security Copilot, which is a real killer of a Copilot. That thing is able to hunt down trillions of signals every single day to check up on your system and on your surroundings if there's a threat. Well, pretty cool to have a Copilot for that, since our hacker friends are using the same type of AI tools to hack and try to hack our companies. So it's a good thing to have a security Copilot, which does the opposite, mainly securing our data environment. So if we look at Copilot, chat is free, it's web rounded. You can build agents in chat. Mind you, they are metered. So that means that once you start using agents, you need to have something in place to get the metered agents going, which means that every question has a usage of credits. So 1 credit equals 1 cent. So if you would ask 100 questions, it will be 100 cents, so $1. And you have IT control. So you can actually grant chat specific rules and things within the company. From chat, we go to the Microsoft 365 Copilot. So what's the difference between the chat, the free version, and the paid version? Well, the paid version is integrated in your apps. It has a control system and it has analytics. So the upside of this one is you can build agents and use them for free. That was to say that you don't have a metered agent, but you can use the agent without an extra charge. You can use the Copilot control system to check which agents are active, but also how many of your employees are using Copilot. And then you've got also Copilot Analytics, which shows you the amount of usage. So in short, Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat is a free version, which is included in metered. Then you have, let me see, this should work. It doesn't work. That's the thing. Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is around €28.10 the user a month. That is based on an annual payment. So it's the annual payment divided by 12. Then if you would like to use the free version of Copilot, then you can activate it actually very simply. And we've asked one of our friends from Workplace Buddy to get us a video on how to do this. So this is in Dutch. If you want this in English, I'm sorry, I haven't had one because the friends we asked are Dutch. But they created a small video showing you how you can pin Copilot and how you should do this. So this is the starting point. We're in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And in this video, we will be shown how to activate Copilot Chat and how to pin that in Teams. So a small video. Well, the sound was a bit weird. See, it's I hope it's not lagging anymore. So from chat to 365 Copilot, which is actually a small step up. So if we look at Microsoft 365 Copilot, it is embedded across your Microsoft 365 apps. What does that in general mean? Well, in chat, I can upload files. They're not in chat. So in the free version, let's be specific. In the free version, I can upload the same files. They're not embedded. So Copilot has no embedded access into the apps. With the 365 Copilot, it does have that. So what does that mean? I can open a Word file or an Excel file. I can actually ask Copilot to do calculations or create a PowerPoint for me or to summarize an email. That's something that is able for 365 Copilot because it is in my apps. It is embedded in my data. So if we look at ChatGPT, just as a comparison, ChatGPT works with large language models and works with the web. That means that all the information it will give you is based on every available information on the internet. That means that there is a room for error. So if you are asking questions to such a tool, it's necessary for you to understand if the answer is correct, yes or no, because you need to be able to verify. If we look at Copilot for 365, it also uses large language models. It also uses the web, but then again, there's a difference. You've got the Microsoft Graph connector, which I explained earlier. So the graph is where everything in your data resides, and then you've got the integration into your 365 apps. What's the difference between the two? Well, the biggest difference being that everything you do with Copilot is securely and safe within your tenant. So it's not outside of your tenant, which means that even when you do a web search, all your data remains in your tenant. It is not affected by a web search. The same goes for your 365 apps. You can use it in your apps. You can ask questions about it. You can ask it to do something, but it will not happen outside of your tenant. Well, biggest difference being that if I'm asking a question regarding data, which I have in my own tenant, it will give me a proper answer and also to the location of where the data was gathered from. So that's one of the biggest differences between ChatGPT and Copilot Chat. The answers are more concise and more specific based on your knowledge and your data. Also, Copilot is your personal assistant. So what does that mean in day-to-day actions? Well, you can ask Copilot to help you plan specific stuff. You can use a facilitator agent nowadays to host your Teams meetings, make notes, keep you on track, tell you where you are with your calendar agenda points, for instance, but also tell you how much time you've got left. Simple things which might have a lot of impact, especially if you need to make the notes of every meeting you're in. You've got a Copilot to do that for you. That saves you a lot of time and effort, and also helps you be more focused in your meeting. Also, if you look at the possibilities of Copilot in your 365 apps, it helps you remediate tasks faster, helps you summarize quicker, helps you send emails, but also make it personal. So your assistant will understand your needs more better than, especially over time when you're using it more often. So if we look at the latest addition to 365 Agent, it's Copilot for Business. Yay, finally it's there. Microsoft eventually listed it took 3 years, but still, it paid off. So bring your own AI is rapidly growing among SMBs, which is true. We've seen this in publications from NRC in the Netherlands, for instance, that there's a lot of usage of AI tools, and there's not a lot of visibility of them. Well, stated that earlier. And SMBs prioritize value, and they look for the solution that works best for them. And also, if you can choose, they would like to have secure and productivity AI and Copilot in one motion. So what does that basically mean? Well, Copilot for Business is actually the new addition specifically built for smaller and medium businesses. So you can use that up to a maximum of 300 users. And it's also quite somewhat cheaper than the M365 Copilot. Oh, that's not fair, you might say. I actually bought the more expensive one. Yes, you did, because you're an early adopter. Kudos for you. But for the smaller companies, it's quite a large investment. So if you have 100 or 200 employees and you need to pay 30 or 28 euros a month for a user, that might not be within your financial reach. Well, for those, we have the 365 Copilot. As of now, it's the same way it used to work with the M365 Copilot. So Copilot Business does not have any less quality or possibility than the other one. This one's available since December 1st this year. So let's dive into it. What's able. Microsoft also gave us some new SKUs to look at. So besides the Copilot Business license, which is available as an add-on, you also have the combination available within the Copilot and Business Basic, Business Standard, and Business Premium suites. So they created a new SKU, which is called Microsoft 365 Business Basic plus Copilot Business, or Business Standard plus Copilot Business, or Business Premium plus Copilot Business. So these are generally available since December 1st last year. Any upgrades from a existing business license is not available yet. That will be available next year. So if you want to upgrade your current Business Standard or Business Premium to a Business Standard plus Copilot Business, you need to wait till the next year because it's not available as of yet. So pricing will be 25 euros 30 for a Business Basic with a Copilot Business, 31 €40 for a Business Standard with a Copilot Business, and 40 euros 30 for a Business Premium with Copilot Business. Well, to elaborate on that, Microsoft has just released a statement in which they say that they will recalculate the FX margins, which means that because of the euro value, pricing will decrease by the 1st of February with 7.4%. So everything will be somewhat cheaper in the next year. Well, that's a good thing. It's the first in many years it actually became cheaper, which I think is a hooray thing. So that's a good thing to know. Looking at the promotions at the moment. So you've got the regular pricing, €19.70 for a 365 business. I've also done the same for the Business Basic, Business Standard, and Business Premium. I've split the ERP pricing together with the regular pricing for Copilot, so you can see how it adds up. Also, there are promos at this moment. They started December 1st and they will continue to be active until March 31st, 2026. So a few highlights to mention. In comparison to the M365 Copilot, so the original one, which is generally speaking $30 a month or 28 euros and 10 cents. If you wanted to have a promo pricing, you needed to have a minimum of 10 seats to get that promo. With the 365 Copilot Business, however, you can get the promo starting from 1 seat. So there's no minimum.
Except for the bundles.
Yeah, except for the bundles, but I've actually done that. So yeah, no worries. It's good. It's good. So the promo seat. So if you purchase an add-on of a singular Microsoft 365 Copilot Business, you will get a promo price of approximately €60.75, which is the ERP pricing for your end customer. That is for every seat from 1 to a maximum of 300. Looking at Copilot with a combination of Business Basic, there is no promo pricing, which is actually quite logical if you think about it, because you need some kind of incentive to make it worthwhile, right? So if we look at the Business Standard in Copilot Business, you'll get a 35% discount. So you'll get the first year or the remainder of the year you're in for €20.40. That promo, however, is only available for seats from 10 to maximum of 300, and the same goes with the Business Premium. All in all, not a bad thing to look at, because if you look at the Copilot with the Business Premium, for instance, a Business Premium has a ERP pricing of €20.60. So if you look at the price of €30.25, that means that you're paying less than €10 for that Copilot. That is a very good deal. So if you are looking into helping customers reach a new perspective by the use of AI, make sure to look at these kind of solutions and these kind of promos, because it might actually convince your customer to say, hey, listen, for that €10 a month, I'll be doing it immediately because that's the cheapest one in the market, which it is right now, because the cheapest version of ChatGPT is about $20 a month. So this is a really good deal if you look at it. So back to how the offer exactly looks. So for the 365 Copilot Business, there is a discount of 15%. New to the SKU, so everyone who hasn't had one, which is well, quite obvious since it has only been there since the 1st of December, but still. Every single one you activate will get a discount of 15%, which is active from the 1st of December to the last of March. Looking at the business standard of Copilot Business, is a 35% promo from seats from 10 to 300. So if you have less than that, make sure to check it at first, because there's a minimum of 10 seats required to get the promo. And again, if you have any questions regarding those upgrades, or you want to know how to, reach out to us and we'll answer those questions. And also, I've added the link so you can look at it at the promo readiness guide. If you're not used to look those things up, give us a mail or a message, and we'll see if we can help you get that information. The same goes for the Business Premium and Copilot Business. There's a 25% discount starting from 10 seats minimum up to a maximum of 300 again, and also available up until the 31st of March. Then, for the regular Copilot, that's a good thing to know. The newly announced ChatGPT 5 and 5.2 will be available in that one as well. I've only actually checked 5.2 recently, 2 days ago, and it works incredible. I can't say anything else, but you need to check it. Just if you haven't tried it yet, please go out and try it. It's really cool to test how good that works. You can also see, if you would like to, there's a roadmap from Microsoft which shows how many updates are coming. I checked yesterday, there were like shy of 2,000 updates that are planned just for the 365 stack alone, which is a crazy amount of updates. Looking at agentic AI. So Microsoft has this vision that every employee will have a Copilot as your personal assistant, as the UI for AI, and every process will have their own agent. So how do they see the future? Well, they see the future in a perspective that one human user will have a team of agents assisting them. And how does that work, and how can you leverage that in terms of selling that or reselling that, also building that? So if we look at the Copilot Studio, which is the platform we would mainly be using for this, I think 80%, maybe 90% of everything you want to do with processes can be handled by Copilot Studio.
Yes. We have a question.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we agree on this one. So, will Jolijn explain the difference between regular Copilot versus the business version? Or is it only the max of 300 users?
Well, at this moment, let's be fair. The starting point is that Microsoft explained that at this very moment, there is no distinguishable difference between the business Copilot and the M365 Copilot. So let's call that one the enterprise Copilot, shall we? Because it's usually for that. However, in their primary statement, they state that it might change over time. We have no clue as to what that actually means, but it means that it could be that there are less availability for specific agents that they've built, or less expanded or extensive agent availability. I'm not sure yet, because they haven't done anything to explain what the differences might be. They're only the things that there might be differences in the future. So at this very moment, there is no difference, but I can't speak for the future because I have no glass ball, which helps me look into the future. But yes, I will expect that there might become some changes. I reckon that will be more about, for instance, the amount of security. For instance, if I would use enterprise security, so if I were to use a E5 license, there is more security in the E5 license than there is in the Business Premium. So obviously, that would be a difference in how that works and interacts with the Copilot. Also, in the E5, Copilot for security will be added, which is a incredible thing because that thing is extremely expensive at the moment, but that is added into the E5. So in terms of the differences between business and enterprise, there are differences and there will be amplified in the coming future. But as of this moment, I can't elaborate on that because there's no official announcement about it. So yeah, that's basically it. So if we look at Copilot Studio, thank you for your question, by the way. It's always nice to thank people for the question because it's a good question.
That's a great question, Tom.
Yeah. So if we look at Copilot Studio is a platform solution which Microsoft presented to help us in automating, but also creating a platform which is inspired with generative AI. So in short, for the users among us who are knowledgeable about Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, Power BI, Power Apps, and so on, Power Platform in general, yes, the Copilot Studio is built on that premise. So it is a very recognizable flow if you are used to Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents. And if you used to working with that platform, you're used to those templates, it might look very familiar to you. So what is the difference? Well, the difference is that they created one platform which they integrated all those tools as well as AI. So AI is actually the accelerator on top of all the automation. And also they created a third-party application environment in which we can actually connect third-party apps into the platform so we can make it more easily to automate specific processes. So for instance, if you use SAP or you're using Exact for your invoicing, you can actually connect those into your platform, start automating the process, and start leveraging an agent to do specific things for you. So you can make it answer to you, so you can give it tasks, but you can also make it more autonomous. So it will do things for you without the need of you to do things. So how does that work? Well, Microsoft states that there will be a orchestration principle. So you create an agent, which is the orchestrator, which then again addresses different agents and guiding them into doing tasks. For instance, one of the things could be you have a order agent, for instance. Yes. So in the mail, you get a mail with a PO. And the trigger is there's a mail with a PO. So the agent gets to work, scans the mail, looks at the PO, and looks at the contents of the PO, and actually places the order and will send a confirmation of the placing of the order to the orchestrator agent, which then tells you, hey, I've placed the order for this company or for this customer. That's one of the examples we can give. So in order to leverage that for your customer, it's necessary for you to understand the process. So how can you leverage that as a reseller? Well, as a reseller, you need to be able to understand what the business of your end customers is. If you understand what the business is, and you are able to set up a list of processes they use, you can actually start automating those processes and say, hey, listen, you've got this process, which is a repetitive task, for instance. How would you feel if we would automate that so you won't have to do it manually, but it's done automatically? Well, that's one of the things you can do with Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, but also with Copilot Studio, which gets all those flavors together. If we look at the types of agents, so we've got a spectrum, right? So we've made them from simple to very advanced. So we've got a retrieval agent. So a retrieval agent, and I know Microsoft despises me using this term, but I would like to use it as a Google Plus version, which is basically, I ask a question, you give me the answer. So in terms of Google, if I were to use a regular Google search, it would give me 20, 50, 100 types of opportunities or possibilities, depending on how much money I pay Google to get on top of the list. But still, if you look at the latest versions of Google, especially with Gemini, it will give you one answer at the top, which has an AI circle around it, so you know that it's AI generated. But in essence, a retrieval agent does the same thing. So if I activate a agent on a SharePoint environment, so I would create what we would call a SharePoint agent. I can then ask that agent questions about that specific data, and it will give me a concise answer about the data, as well with the location as where they got the answer from. So that's a retrieval agent. So why would we leverage such a solution? Well, for instance, if you are in HR or you are in engineering or anything specific, which uses a lot of manuals or a lot of different information, it might be a hard task looking through all that information day after day. For instance, if an employee who reaches out to you and says, hey, how about when I do overtime and how is that done in our CEO? Well, let me have a look at that. I don't know, but I need to look into it. So instead of having to look into it, I just ask agent, hey, listen, agent, I have a question about how does the CEO respond to my overtime? How is that done? What's the answer? And it will give you the answer about that specific question, and you can then translate that to your colleague. But that's one way of looking at it. For instance, as well, if you are in engineering, you have a lot of technical manuals about what happens if you've got a specific code with an error. You can say, listen, I need to look up code 404, which we all know if an internet browser doesn't work. How can I resolve this issue? Well, it will give you the answer as well as the solution, how you can resolve this, and it will show you where it found the answer. So that is a retrieval agent. If we look at tasks, it's a bit more complex. So that's the retrieval side is the simple way. The task is the more, it's moderate. Let's say moderate, it's more advanced. So in this way, I can say, I want you to do something for me, but I will ask you to do something. So if I could do the same thing, I would have my receipts, for instance. I can say, listen, I need to declare these receipts. These are the receipts. Can you make a declaration of it so I can give it to HR so that will pay me my receipts? You can automate that by creating a task. I want you to do this. So it's a certain workflow it needs to do. So it knows, okay, I need to scan all the receipts. I need to put it into a document, and I need to mail the document to HR. A task. So there's a flow in a task, and there's a repetitive thing that comes around more often than once. So that's a task. And then you've got the autonomous agent. And the autonomous agent is something that does things on their own. I explained the order agent. You can have many sorts of those. So we've been testing a RFP agent, so a request for proposal agent. So if I have a request for proposal, which happens, companies ask for specific things, the agent will get the proposal, check what we did with the last ones, then see what our generic answer was, fill out the gaps, and then fills out about 80% of the form, and will tell us, listen, I've done 80% of the form, you need to do the rest yourself because it's too specific or something. So that's an autonomous agent. So that does it on its own. But the same goes for a customer service agent, for instance. So that one addresses the customer, says, hey, how can I help you? What is your issue? What is your question? And it then will try to resolve that. If it's not able to, it will escalate it through to a real life person, but then accompanied with all the data and all the information that was requested. So that is a autonomous agent. So now, I've mentioned them before, IT help desk, an expense report agent, the customer support agent is a spectrum of the Copilot agents. So if you look at the platforms where we can find them, at the moment, we're using Agent Builder, which will be renamed to Copilot Studio Lite. So if you're looking for that specific, it's going to be named Copilot Studio Lite. That is generally available in our chat. So that's where you can build your own agents. So for instance, retrieval agents or SharePoint agents, you can build them there. For the makers, we've got Copilot Studio. So if you're into Power Apps and flows and logics and that kind of stuff, you can use Studio to create those automations. And then for the real hardcore software developers among us, we've got AI Foundry, which will be called Microsoft Foundry in a few weeks because they've renamed that one as well. Sure, why not? Let's change the name again. We were just getting used to it, but hey, there we have it. So then you have the developer side. So that's the most elaborate way of building your own custom LLM, so your own Copilot, your own agent, but that's specific to your needs. So you can make that completely your own. So if you are in a specific business, you can say, I want you to use this work-related language, which is specific to this branch, for instance, in law or in architecture or whatever it is. So you can use it, but you can create it and you can shape it to your liking. But that's a more intricate and more difficult thing to do. So you need someone who understands code in order to build that. All in all, it's a good range of platforms we can use. I think mostly we'll be working with either the Agent Builder, Copilot Studio Lite, or actually Copilot Studio, which I think in 90% of all the cases will be sufficient to do the most things if it's about processes. So now we have, so Microsoft also created agents themselves, which you can use. Some of them are actually already there. If you're not in the Frontier program, it might be that you can't use every one of them. If you want to be Frontier, just sign up. You can actually sign up for your through your M365 admin center to become Frontier. So if you're not used to that, check it out. It's really simple. But some of the out-of-the-box agents, which have already been built, are the analyst agent, researcher. They are generally available if you look at the agents in your chat. So you can go to the chat and then you create an agent. You can choose an agent marketplace as it is. You can just see it in there. Agents like facilitator, interpreter are actually already live in Teams. So the interpreter actually helps us do live interpretation. So I could speak in English or in Dutch, and it might translate that automatically to you in your given language. So that might be French or Spanish or whatever, German. You can actually hear your own language while I'm talking in a different language. So that's one of the things you can actually activate. So these things are live. You can just add them. So you click on the agent specifically, then it explains what it specifically does, and then you can just choose it and start using it. It's actually really simple, but you can also build your own. So these are generally available. How do we license Studio? So Copilot Studio is available in a few ways, but one of the things you should know that Copilot Studio is a platform in which you can build a solution. You can do that as a pay-as-you-go principle. So in that case, you need to be having a Copilot Studio license, which is at no charge up front. You need to have a Copilot Studio license user, which is designated to the people who are building those specific agents. So in order for you to be able to build inside of Copilot Studio environment, you either be the admin or you have a studio user license, which is free, but that helps you to be able to get into the Copilot Studio environment and build those agents. So if you look at the pay-as-you-go version, that requires a Power Platform with a Dataverse as well as a Azure subscription. Because if you are starting to use the agent as a pay-as-you-go, it is metered, so every credit is 1 cent, just as explained earlier. You also have the pay in advance, so that's the Copilot Studio regular license, which is 187 euros and 20 cents based on an annual payment. You'll receive a 25,000 credit upfront paid license, which helps you to use those credits for the users who have a free license of Copilot Chat. So you can actually enable those users to use Copilot Studio and agents by having those credits available. So why do I mention that as a Copilot Chat? Because the Copilot paid version, so it's the same for the M365 Copilot as well as the Copilot Business. They are for free when you're using agents at the moment. So they are not metered compared to the Copilot Chat. So all in all, it's quite simple too. If you want to have additional credits, you can purchase them in the Power Platform. So you buy them at a specific amount of credits. There's a credit calculator. So if you are really going at it with those agents and you are trying to calculate the amount of workflows, the amount of agents, and the amount of users a month, there's a calculator for that. If you want that, let me know. I can share that with you. But you can actually calculate the amount of credits you would use based on a month. And then you can decide whether or not you want to just go pay as you go, or if you want to purchase those credits up front, so you'll be somewhat cheaper. It might save you about up to 20% if you purchase up front. You can calculate it reasonably okay. It's not that hard. They have standard credit countings for that. It's not like with Azure OpenAI, which is based on tokenization, which is a lot harder. I will not go into that too much, but Copilot credits are actually very straightforward. So one question is one credit. 10 actions or 100 actions are 10 credits. So they have a standard calculation sheet for that. If you want that, let me know. But it's really simple. You can either buy Copilot Studio via CSP, which is available in Iron, which is the one with the 25,000 credits. If you want to have the usage of the usual pay-as-you-go version, you can activate that by going to MicrosoftCopilotStudio.com, and you can activate it over there. But be sure to activate a Power Platform and a subscription up front, because they will ask you for that. Otherwise, you can't use it.
Well, there's a question if the PowerPoint is confidential. Is it? The PowerPoint you're presenting at the moment?
No, it's not.
Will we share it afterwards
Yeah,
in the PDF format?
Yep, I will.
Good.
So
Thank
I'm gonna share this with it. Yeah. It might say it's confidential, but that's because everything I'm showing right now has been presented to us when it was confidential. So it might still show that in some of the slides that we created. And also that's part of our labeling within the company. Everything, I built it when it was all sensitive information, and it will show you that it's classified confidential because of that. But I'll be sure to make it private and share it in PDF so you won't have to deal with all the labeling stuff, which is a lot of pain. So that's in general how you license Copilot Studio. So again, if you want to use Copilot Studio, you can either order it from Lion, which is the credit version. So with the 25,000 credits upfront, don't forget to add the Copilot Studio user license. You actually do need those to get access to the Copilot Studio environment. If you want to use the pay-as-you-go version, you can activate that through Microsoft Copilot.com. Be sure to activate your Power Platform Dataverse as well as your Azure subscription in order to be able to use the immediate version. So a few things that were actually really important. So 18 November, we had Microsoft Ignite. So most of you will know what Microsoft Ignite is. For some of you who don't know, Microsoft Ignite is an annual event for all IT professionals and developers who are working with Microsoft. So it's all partner-based. It showcases the latest updates, and the event includes a lot of sessions, workshops, and network opportunities. So what did they actually tell us on Ignite? So I think one of the most critical things they come up with is Work IQ. And we'll be mentioning Work IQ quite a bit in the next months, but also I've done a lot of sessions lately and I've mentioned Work IQ as well. Work IQ is an intricate blanket, if you would like to speak like, or a net, just the way you want to say it. But it's covered over your data, and it pinpoints even more of your data than it already did with the regular Copilot. The Work IQ even enables it to be better at responding when you are asking about your own data. So for instance, if I were to look into an email which has been sent months ago, it now knows that it was a mail sent months ago, and it might even be that it's in archiving, which is quite hard for Copilot to get to. But with Work IQ, I can actually reach that point. It also is able to do more predictive actions. So it knows that you have a certain calendar item coming up, and if you ask questions, oh, that's true, you have an item coming up about this specific subject or about this specific partner. These are the things you discussed earlier on. So Work IQ is a new intelligence layer, which makes it a lot more intricate to work with that in your own data. Well, combine that with the new 5.2 ChatGPT release that we've had last week, and it works incredible, I can tell you. You should really try this if you haven't yet already. Please let me know what you think, because I think it works really well in your work environment. I want to emphasize that again, because a lot of people are like, well, the response from Copilot was less than it was from ChatGPT or Mist or another one. And I'm like, okay, what did you ask? Yeah, I asked you how to pack my suitcase. Yeah, well, that's not what it was designed for, was it? It was designed for your work.
To translate curse words.
Doesn't
do it
It doesn't do that because it's ethically bound to be nice and not hurt people. So no, it will not. It will not.
Where ChatGPT does, you got it?
Yep. ChatGPT does translate your foul language. Well, yes, and Copilot says no, I can't do that because it might hurt or upset people. I've tried to ask the same question about a certain president in the US, and it says no, I can't do that. You know, it's not very nice, but still. So Work IQ actually combined with ChatGPT 5.2, it is actually really nice to work. And please feel free to check that out. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Another thing they do is agent mode in Office apps. So we have a Copilot in our Office apps, right? We explained that earlier on. You've got the M365 license, which is covered in your Office apps, which helps you to work more easy and make it more simple. But then we have now a new thing, it's agent mode. And agent mode is actually available from your chat. So what is the difference? Well, agent mode allows you to ask actions or ask specific things in your chat, which could be that you want something to have done, that you want a task finished, or you want to have a document built in Word, or a presentation in PowerPoint, or you want to have a calculation in Excel. So instead of going to Excel, you can now ask it in an agent in your chat please create something for me in a PowerPoint. And it will ask you questions. What would you like to add? What would you like to create? For instance, if you want a PowerPoint, how many slides could it be? Do you have a specific brand, or do you have a template what I need to use? Can I look into using images on the internet that I'm allowed to use, or do you want me to use a specific set of imaging? The agent asks you these questions as it goes to work, which is new because agent mode helps you work even more efficiently and faster and smarter. And it helps you think about the questions you ask, right? So instead of just doing something you ask, it's actually asking you, did you mean this? And it will make it more concise, more precise. And it will actually try to help you create a better document, a better flow. So agent mode in Office apps. It will be released shortly. I'm not sure if it's this month or it might be next month. I'm not sure as of now, but it will be available quite soon. Another update they did were Copilot enhancements. So Copilot Chat's mentioned before, free for users, but now you can talk to Copilot as if it's your sparring partner. So instead of asking questions and it will answer you something, you can be in a conversation, a real life conversation with your Copilot. I've actually tried this, and it's it's weird at first. Let's be honest. It's weird not talking to an actual human. It sounds like a human, but it isn't. But what it works really good at, and I'm using this in the car all the time, is actually to ask it if it can summarize all my emails and even start responding to those emails. And then will ask me, what would you like to respond? And I'll send them in the sense of, I would like to have such a response like this. And it says, can I alter it for you? Can I improve on it? Yeah, please do. So it actually helps you doing this. So you can talk to your Copilot the same way maybe some of you are talking to ChatGPT or another one. But it works really well. And it actually shows me on the way to work or home or to appointments. So it can just read to me all the emails that have come in. And I can just ask, can you reply to this email? Yes, I can. And they will just send the email, which is weird. So then we have a hybrid chat, a voice interaction model, which you just explained. One of the most exciting news that we had on Ignite was the introduction of Sora 2. And Sora 2 is to create videos, which is really cool. So as soon as it is, I don't know how many of you are using Sora 2 or different models to create videos, but you should really give it a go and try it out. As well as Anthropic. Anthropic is also available to use besides ChatGPT within Copilot Studio, for instance, or in Azure AI Foundry. New things to come. And then the latest thing, and I think one of the most important things, I mentioned the governance and visibility of AI tools in general. So if we look at the newest edition, this is Agent 365. And Agent 365 makes your life a lot easier, especially for companies who have different agents from different parties, third-party applications, and so on. Agent 365 sees every agent inside a company. That includes the agent that are third-party applications or third-party agents, and it can see how much access it has. So that is a huge deal, especially for admins, to be able to see what it does, how it works, and you can actually leverage that. So you can manage lifecycle management, you can actually, the governance and security, you've got a centralized management, so you can actually say, this one is allowed and this one isn't. So be sure to check that out because it's one of the best updates we had regarding governance and compliance and security. And not an important thing, and a last note, when you are active as a company and as an IT reseller and you're busy leveraging all these AI possibilities and tools, don't forget it's all about people, right? It needs to be people-centric. If it isn't people-centric, we're not going to use it anyhow. So if you're using this, be sure to mention this to your customers. Let's make it people-centric and make it about people as well. I don't know if there are any questions remaining at this very moment. If there is not, feel free to send questions if it is necessary.
I did offer to also send the calculation.
Oh yeah, that's good. I'll add it.
Yeah, with PDF, so everybody has all the information and they can go ahead and sell the most Copilot ever.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You know where to find us. And I want to wish you a great day.